Over the past 3 seasons, Lions head coach Dan Campbell has consistently been in the discussion and received votes for NFL Coach of the Year honors. This year, no one is more deserving. The NFL Coach of the Year is awarded to the NFL head coach who has done the most outstanding job of working with the talent he has at his disposal. Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell is the current frontrunner for the award. The 12-2 Vikings have secured a playoff berth, and O'Connell has done a magnificent job resurrecting quarterback Sam Darnold's career. He has NFL journeyman Darnold playing at an elite level. But as impressive a job as O'Connell has done, Dan Campbell is even more deserving. After coming within 30 minutes of a Super Bowl appearance last year, the Detroit Lions were projected to be a Super Bowl contender before the 2024 season began. Everyone expected this team to be great. Entering the year with a target on their back, the Lions were given one of the tougher schedules in addition to several primetime appearances. Everyone was eager to see if the Lions would live up to the hype. Campbell had a dream roster of healthy young players at the peak of their careers heading into the 2024 season. The Detroit lineup boasts some of the most elite players at every position. Quarterback Jared Goff has been outstanding this year, leading the NFL in most metrics. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs comprise the NFL's best running back duo. Amon-Ra St. Brown is among the league's most talented and reliable wide receivers. It's easy for a head coach to look good when you have a roster overflowing with talent. Detroit's locker room is filled with enormous talent, but that doesn't generate votes for Cody. However, building a winning team requires more than talent. The coach's job is to set the tone, create a winning culture, and establish a rock-solid foundation. When the Lions missed out on the Super Bowl last year, there was an enormous sense of loss and the team felt they'd let their fans down. The prize was so close, it was within reach, and then cruelly snatched away at the last second. But Campbell spun that disappointment and pain into the ultimate motivation for the team to do better this year. Setting the tone, Campbell threw down the gauntlet. The team needed to do better. While they may have come up short last year, Campbell convinced them the Lions' Super Bowl drought was over. At long last, a championship title was their destiny, and 2024 would be the year. The season began as expected with the Lions winning close games against some of the NFL's toughest opponents. The team closed out the month of September with 3 wins and 1 loss. The Lions came off their early bye week to face the Dallas Cowboys on the road. Despite losing star edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson to a horrific leg injury, the team didn't fold. The Lions fought back and were utterly relentless in their 47-9 victory over the Cowboys. Hutchinson's injury only served to fuel the team. The Lions' supercharged defense was all over Dallas. With 3 interceptions and a forced fumble, the Lions held the Cowboys to 3 points following Hutchinson's injury. The job of a good coach is to motivate the players to overcome any obstacles in their path. Campbell built this team to withstand adversity and come back stronger than before. He reminded the team they weren't dependent on one player. Everyone in the locker room needed to step up and do their job. The Lions front office would take care of the rest and find a way to replace Hutch. The following week, Detroit defeated the Vikings by a score of 31-29. Despite the injuries to Hutchinson and other key personnel, the Lions finished the month of October atop the NFC North with a record of 6-1. But the hits kept coming as more players succumbed to injuries. Like a chain of dominoes, when one player went down, others began to topple. The Thanksgiving game against the Chicago Bears left so many injured players that EVP and GM Brad Holmes spent Black Friday on an NFL practice squad shopping spree. Holmes added 4 veteran players to Detroit's defensive line. Campbell and the Lions' defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, went to work, bringing the best out of their cobbled-together lineup. Even though most of these players had never shared a lineup before, the battered and bruised Lions continued to win games. The Lions extended their streak to a franchise-best 11 straight games. The Lions entered Week 15 tied with the Kansas City Chiefs for the NFL's best record at 12-1. During a tough 48-42 loss to Buffalo, the Lions lost 3 more key players on defense and their elite running back Montgomery. Currently, tied at 12-2 with the Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit faces an uphill battle to lock down the #1 seed in the NFC division. But don't count the Lions out and don't bet against Campbell. This team is at its best with their backs against the wall. These players are hungry and motivated to accomplish the mission they started a year ago and have the mental fortitude to go the distance. If the sole voting criteria for Cody is based on working with the talent he has at his disposal, Campbell is finding a way to win games no matter who is in his lineup. The final sign of a truly great coach is someone who trains the next generation of leaders. As a mentor, Campbell has empowered DC Glenn and offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to shine. The pair are the most highly sought-after head coaching candidates in the NFL for the 2025 season. Lions fans can only hope that Campbell has a great succession plan underway for their replacements in Detroit. The injury-depleted Detroit Lions defense is reportedly getting some help in the form of a former All-Pro safety. The Lions are signing safety Jamal Adams, a three-time Pro Bowler and a 2019 All-Pro first-teamer, to the practice squad with an understanding that he will be elevated to the roster, according to multiple reports. Adams last made the Pro Bowl in 2020, his first season with the Seattle Seahawks after 3 years with the New York Jets, who drafted him at number 6 overall in 2017. He was a second-team All-Pro with the Jets in 2018 and with the Seahawks in 2020. The LSU alumnus played in just 10 games over the past 2 seasons with the Seahawks before he was released in March. He signed with the Tennessee Titans in July but has played just 3 games with 20 defensive snaps this season. He requested his release, which was granted, in mid-October. The Lions have lost numerous defensive starters to injury this year. Rookie defensive lineman Mekhi Wingo was the latest, with the team announcing Saturday it would be playing the rookie on injured reserve. Likewise, Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Kyle Pico, and John Kaminsky are all out through the end of the regular season. The injury situation is less severe in the secondary, though cornerbacks Terrion Arnold, Carlton Davis III, Emmanuel Mosley, Ennis Rakestraw Jr., and safeties Brian Branch and Ifeatu Melifonwu have all missed time with assorted injuries. Rakestraw and Melifonwu were placed on injured reserve, meaning an absence of at least 4 games in late November. If the Jacksonville Jaguars want to hire Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to be their new head coach, then they are set to have some clear competition. Johnson is such a quality candidate that it is to be expected for several teams to be after him as their next leader. And we now have our first indication of which jobs Johnson might be interested in, with the Chicago Bears being the first to be linked to Johnson's red-hot candidacy. There's a lot to like in Chicago with Caleb Williams, tons of cap space, extra draft resources, also a major market. They're expected to break ground on new stadium next year. Team president Kevin Warren has a lot of connections around the league from his several decades in pro and college football. That's allowed them to get a jump start on the search process, gathering background as part of what is expected to be a thorough search led by Warren and GM Ryan Poles. Interviews with current NFL assistants like Ben Johnson cannot begin until after the regular season. It isn't surprising to see Johnson linked to the Bears before the Jaguars. After all, the Bears fired their head coach weeks ago and have an actual opening as it stands today. Many are expecting for the Jaguars to have an opening at the end of the 2024 season as well, but for now, Doug Peterson is still in place. Still, it is becoming increasingly clear that the Bears are set to serve as the fiercest competition for Johnson in the offseason. The Bears offer a lot of the same qualities that the Jaguars do, and it isn't unreasonable to think Johnson would have some comfort with Chicago after facing the franchise twice a year for the last several years. Whoever wants to hire Johnson will obviously have to wait a few weeks after the season as the Lions progress in the playoffs. We should have some clarity in the coming weeks about what his market will truly look like.